After the shooting, prosecutors say the same crew met at In-N-Out, discussed payments. On top of that, the indictment describes coded conversations where Durk...
Yeah, this is a whole orchestrated GTA mission right here. I'm talking about everything. Basically, Durk is Lester and all that, and then the rest of them niggas, they just loading up in the lobby. They ready. They doing all the mission preps and all of that. You know what I'm saying?
Ain't never seen tears from a gangster, so why don't you want me to cry?
This case could end Lil Durk. This video is about Blackie Speaks. We ain't gonna waste no time. Let's hop right into it.
Now, Chicago rapper Lil Durk has been locked up for almost a year, and the clock is ticking. He's currently facing one of the most serious charges of his entire career, murder for hire. Prosecutors claim Durk ordered members of his OTF crew to travel to Los Angeles and target rival rapper Quando Rondo, a move allegedly tied to revenge for the death of King Von. As the situation for Durk remains uncertain, his legal team is fighting to get the case thrown out before it even reaches trial. So in this video, I want to give you guys a full update, and I'm also going to do a recap of why Lil Durk is in the position that he's currently in. Now, like a lot of people already know, on the 24th of October last year, everything came crashing down for Lil Durk.
Lil Durk has now been charged in a superseding federal grand jury indictment. It alleges that he conspired with others to murder a rival rapper near the Beverly Center 2 years ago.
Durk was arrested in Florida by U.S. Marshals on a federal murder for hire charge, just hours after several alleged members.
It is crazy how it seemed like everything was going good for Durk, and then all of a sudden, you know, he got hit with this. You know what I'm saying? Crazy, bro.
His OTF crew were hit with similar indictments. According to prosecutors, the case traces back to the August 2022 Los Angeles gas station shooting that left Quando Rondo's cousin, Lopab, dead. Investigators say that OTF members used a credit card linked to Durk's label to book flights, rent hotel rooms, and track Quando Rondo's SUV across the city before opening fire. Durk's team, of course, denies everything. His attorney at the time confirmed he was taken into custody in Florida and held without bail, while his associates were arrested in Chicago and transferred to California federal court. At the time of his arrest, authorities claimed that Durk had actually attempted to flee the country, so maybe on some level he knew what was coming. According to the affidavit, he had 3 international flights booked, one to Italy, one to Switzerland, and one to Dubai, but ultimately never boarded any of them because the feds did a sweep. That detail alone shows how serious the situation had gotten at that point. These were extremely serious allegations against Durk. We're not talking about some minor charges. This is murder for hire. On top of that,
yeah, bro, try to get a quick hit off and dip out before they could catch him, bro.
We're talking about Lil Durk, okay? One of the most successful street rappers of this generation. So the question a lot of people had was, how did it get this far? And was all this a bunch of cap? However, like the feds always do when they build a case, they allegedly had a bunch of evidence against Durk, which included financial records showing that an OTF-linked credit card was reportedly used to book flights and hotel rooms for the crew that traveled from Chicago to Los Angeles.
But was it his, though? You know, names are tied to credit cards, so it should tell you who, you know, whose card it is.
Was traced during the investigation from flight purchases and hotel check-ins to the transactions made after the shooting, painting a picture of what prosecutors say was a carefully coordinated plan. Prosecutors also pointed to travel records and court documents claiming that Durk personally provided the funds for the trip, while one of his top associates handled the logistics. Everything from hotel arrangements to buying ski masks. Crazy. They say his top associate, Kayvon Grant, was also the one who obtained firearms, including a weapon allegedly converted into a fully automatic rifle, all under Durk's direction. Investigators claim the group used those cars, one of which had fake license plates, to track Quando Rondo's SUV before ambushing him at the Beverly Center gas station. After the shooting, prosecutors say the same crew met at In-N-Out, discussed payments. On top of that, the indictment describes coded conversations where Durk...
Yeah, this is a whole orchestrated GTA mission right here. I'm talking about everything. Basically, Durk is Lester and all that, and then the rest of them niggas, they just loading up in the lobby. They ready. They doing all the mission preps and all of that. You know what I'm saying? They had all this. Real talk.
Usually promised money or music opportunities as rewards for carrying out the attack. In short, prosecutors are framing this entire case as retaliation for King Von's death, a calculated move to send a message that what happened to Von wouldn't be forgotten. I guess, according to them, he literally slid for Von, right? And Durk, like we all know, he comes from the streets, so hearing something like this tied to his name isn't completely shocking. street cred and actually living up to it has always been a part of his brand. So when you hear these types of accusations, the first reaction might be, you know, why would someone like him risk everything? But then again, when your entire success and respect in the court.
And that's another thing too, like, R.I.P. Vaughn for sure, but damn, Durk, you had everything going for you. Literally, man. No cap. You had everything going for you, bro. Ain't Durk about like 30 now? You know what I'm saying? Grown man. You know, I don't know how many kids this nigga got. I know he got kids, but, you know, at some point, you feel me, we got to start considering other things other than the streets. You feel me? But that's just how it is when you got rappers involved in this lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I'm not one to judge anybody. Do what you do. But it's just something to think about.
Is built on that image. Your mindset isn't always guided by logic. It's driven by loyalty, pride, survival, and emotions. If you let something like that, one of your homies getting killed, go unanswered, people start questioning if you really stand on what you talk about, right? And this is the thing with these.
But see, that's another thing too. Durk don't have to prove anything to anybody. You know what I'm saying? He don't. Like, that nigga, he should not have to prove anything to none of these randoms out here. You know what I'm saying? You don't owe nobody nothing. Real talk. But, you know, I understand it from a street perspective. Though, as far as maintaining that respect and, you know, sliding for bro. So I understand that, you know what I'm saying? But still, you know what I'm saying? It's a lot to consider when you live in that type of lifestyle.
The feds always look for tangible proof that ties you directly to the plan. They don't just want rumors or association. They want paper trails, digital messages, and travel records. Things they can show in court and say, this came from you. But while the feds have been building their case, Durk's legal team has been fighting back. Back in April of this year, Durk's legal team filed their first major motion to get the entire case dismissed, arguing that the government had given false evidence to the grand jury. Specifically, they said prosecutors try to use Lil Durk's lyrics as proof of a murder-for-hire plot. The feds had specifically pointed to...
Well, we already know that's thrown out the window because you can't use lyrics in a case anymore. You know what I'm saying? That's going to get thrown out the window. At least it should be, but...
on Babyface Ray's song, Wonderful Wayne and Jackie Boy, claiming that Durk was rapping about revenge after the shooting. And I'm assuming it's this part right here when Durk says, it's effed up that I'd rather get revenge instead of millions. So in other words, he's basically saying I'd rather throw my life away for revenge than enjoy the success I've earned. Or maybe this other line where he says, look on the news and see your son, you screaming, no, no. And all them niggas hanging with him, if you know, you know. Now that sounds like a direct reference to the viral video of Quando Rondo, Durk's #1 enemy, who he allegedly tried to kill, crying and screaming no after finding out his cousin Lil Pab had been killed. And this is the clip right here.
In an SUV. Savannah rapper Quando.
So Quando in that video is literally screaming no, obviously out of pure emotional pain because his cousin was dying right in front of him. So the prosecution tried to connect those lyrics to that exact moment, basically claiming that Durk was referencing the scene as a way to celebrate or acknowledge the revenge. But here's where things fall apart. Durk's legal team said that the song was written and recorded 6 months before the attack even happened. They even submitted sworn statements from producers who worked on the song in January 2022, proving it couldn't possibly have been about that shooting. In the motion, Durk's lawyer, Drew Feinling, wrote, unless the government is prosecuting Mr. Banks on a theory of extra sensory pre-science, the lyrics could not have soundly informed the grand jury's findings of probable cause. Basically, they were saying the government built its original case on a false timeline. Now, in May of this year, Durk was back in federal...
Sounds like Durk got him a substantial lawyer on his hands.
court in Los Angeles, trying one more time to get released on bond while waiting for his trial. His lawyers came prepared with what they called a
And I mean, bro got money. I would expect him to. Shit.
proposal, basically a bail plan to convince the judge that Durk could safely stay at home instead of being behind bars. It included a $1 million package backed by his record label, Alamo Records, plus another $150,000 in cash that Durk personally added to sweeten the deal. On top of that, he offered to pay a Beverly Hills security company to provide 24-hour armed security guards at his house, basically a private home detention setup to prove he wouldn't be a flight risk. But the judge wasn't having it. After about an hour of arguments, Durk's request for bond was denied. According to Rolling Stone, the judge said she'd received reports claiming that Durk had been using the phone accounts of 13 other inmates to make calls while in custody. Basically, he was using other people's phone access to stay in contact with the outside world, which is against jail rules. She also said he appeared to be making three-way calls, which is another violation. Durk's lawyer put...
You fucking up, Durk. You fucking up, man. Damn.
And said it wasn't as serious as it sounded. He told the court that kind of thing happens all the time inside of federal facilities and that Durk was just trying to stay in touch with his family. His lawyer Drew Feinling also pointed out that jail staff had nothing but positive things to say about Durk's behavior and about how he's been staying grounded in his Muslim faith. Still, the judge didn't budge. She ordered Durk to remain in custody. What's interesting is that during that same hearing, Drew Feinling mentioned that prosecutors had just filed a new version of the indictment and that they actually removed some of the strongest claims that tied Durk to the shooting. And according to Durk's legal team, they took out the part saying that Durk monetized death in his lyrics and also dropped the line accusing him of personally ordering a co-defendant to pay the bounty. But prosecutors told the court that none of that changes their position. They said this case isn't about lyrics or music, it's about Durk's actions and what they say were the steps he took to order that hit in Los Angeles. So at that point in May, Durk was still behind bars, no bail, no release, just waiting for the next move. Now the plot kept thickening, and in June of this year, Durk's legal team came back with an even stronger bail proposal, this time worth a massive $4.5 million. The offer included around-the-clock home detention with private security and electronic monitoring, but once again the judge said no. And why exactly did he say no? Well,
bruh, the judge is not fucking with Durk right now, man. Like, he does not, she, whoever, does not want to see this nigga out.
The judge stated that the proposed funds were only a fraction of Durk's net worth, and that because he's facing a mandatory life sentence, if convicted, even an innocent man might consider running. The judge also pointed to Durk's attempt to fly to Dubai shortly after other defendants were arrested, saying that details showed he had already tried to flee once. And then Durk's lawyer pushed back on it, saying the trip was for business and spiritual reasons, but the judge didn't buy it. He said plainly, the court finds that the defendant did attempt to flee abroad. After the ruling, Durk's legal team said in a statement that they were disappointed but still confident he'll be cleared once the truth comes out. And what's interesting is that, during this hearing, the judge also acknowledged that the case wasn't exactly airtight yet. Very interesting. He said it's possible, maybe even plausible, that Durk was pulling the strings, but at some point, there has to be real proof, not just general claims. Very interesting. And then fast forward to this September, and things started to shift again behind the scenes. Prosecutors and several of Durk's co-defendants actually filed a motion asking to delay the trial, calling the case so unusual and so complex that they needed more time to prepare. But here's the crazy part. Durk wasn't actually one of them. He didn't agree to delay the trial at all. And in court documents, it literally says, Defendant Banks, that's Durk, does not join in the stipulation to continue the trial in this matter, meaning Durk actually wanted to go to trial sooner than later. Prosecutors, on the other hand, argue that since Durk is being tried alongside the others, the delay should still apply to him, saying a 3-month wait constitutes a reasonable period of delay and doesn't violate his right to a speedy trial. If Durk wants to fight that, his team could try to oppose the delay or even ask the judge to separate his case from the others, but that decision hasn't been made yet. Essentially, what's going on right now is that Durk is once again trying to have his federal murder for hire charges dismissed, claiming that the government's case is way too vague to even fight properly. The first time they tried to get the case dismissed was back in October of last year, right after Durk got arrested. The trial was originally supposed to happen this October, but it's now been pushed back to January 2026, which means that's when Durk will finally have his day in court, unless his lawyers manage to get it dismissed before then, which what's the likelihood that's going to happen? I'm not too sure about that personally. And Durk, of course, continues to deny that he ever ordered a hit on Quando Rondo. He's gearing up to fight these charges head on, but according to a new filing made on October 6th, His lawyers say they can't even prepare a proper defense because prosecutors haven't clearly explained what they're actually accusing him of, which is what the judge said earlier, right? They're arguing that the entire case is built on guesswork, that there's no clear evidence.
I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna lie. It sound like this nigga might win this shit.
Or when Durk supposedly communicated this bounty. Durk's legal team specifically stated, "This indictment is impermissibly vague. It leaves the defense to guess as to the government's theory of guilt, and it leaves the government free to change that theory as its cooperators' stories morph over time to meet the demands of a conviction." So basically what they're saying is that the government can't just keep moving the goalpost, that they need to show exactly what Durk said, who he said it to, what he did, and how all this connects to the crime. And it's interesting because that's not at all what most people thought was happening with this case. Could this be some type of tactic to buy time or weaken the prosecution's strategy? I don't really know, right? But either way, it's the job of his attorneys to look for every single crack in the government's case and use it to their advantage. That's what.
And hey, boy, they doing their thing. Them boys are doing their thing, boy. Durk got him some good lawyers, man. You know, Durk got him some real deal lawyers, bro.
Legal team is getting paid for, right? So it's looking pretty uncertain for Durk right now until that trial actually starts. All we can do is watch how this plays out in court and hope that the truth comes to light.
Hey, man, it's looking very vague on the government side. You know what I'm saying? Just based off this information right here. But as far as I'm concerned, Durk just might get this shit dismissed. I ain't gonna lie to you. He just might get away. We're gonna go ahead and end it off right there. And I'll catch you on the next one.
Hey, hold on now. Before you leave, like the video, subscribe. Thank you.
Ain't never seen tears from a gangster, so why the world want me to cry? Fighting depression, talk to them spirits, use them judges that help me get by. But I cannot lie, that she hurt me bad when I got that car, told me you died. Like how the fuck can they take you? Man, I hope I wake up, it's a lie. Couldn't walk to that hearse car, I remember the words and I remember the look in your eyes.